I'm Sonia Sicanto, and this is my podcast, Unseen Legacies of Childhood. Today on Unseen Legacies of Childhood, I speak to Chris Baker. Chris and I met at the Inside Out project fundraiser. It's the UK's first clothing brand, created, designed and produced by ex-offenders. Chris was one of the brand ambassadors who attended the event as a speaker, inspiring us all with his stories of hope beyond prison walls. As soon as I heard him speak, I knew I had to have him on this podcast. Losing his father at 10 to prison, in trouble with the law by 12, expelled from 3 schools, numerous prison sentences, losing his arm in a police chase, Chris Baker knows a thing or two about childhood trauma. He talks to me about the impact of adverse childhood experiences and how this affects your ability to manage yourself and regulate your emotions. But more importantly, how these emotional reactions can take you down a path you don't want to be. You are a man, I've been checking you out, you're a man of many talents. So model, public speaker, workshop facilitator, disability and rehabilitation advocate. You've got a lot going on. You're a busy man. We met at the Inside Out charity back in October.
Yeah.
And I heard you speak and I just thought instantly, such a powerful speech that you made there. You're such a powerful speaker. How did you get involved with Inside Out?
So I was working for another charity that I still work with now. I was they had an exhibition, not last year, the year before. They have one every year, but it was the one in 2022. And Greg was the journalist with his brother that was interviewing me to speak for BBC. So he then told me, we're doing, might have been 2020. No, it was 2022. He said, we're going to do this thing called Inside Out. It's launching. Would you be interested? So I met up with him, spoke with him, I got on with Greg, and then, I decided to be involved.
And what do they do, the Inside Out charity?
So they get people from prison and they give them skills. So they help them build transferable skills, go to LinkedIn's head office, teach them how to make clothes, do the business side of it. Then they sell the clothes in the shop. It was in Stratford, but now they're waiting to move into one in Oxford Street.
Oh, wow, that's fantastic. And what do you do?
I worked with them on the last project. I designed my own clothing, and I was selling it, but I've I'm still in contact with Greg and still get support from them. He's still massive. He's a lovely guy. But I've been working with another couple of charities. One, we just created a course for people with disabilities to help them, employers understand people with disabilities, so it makes it a bit easier. He's still doing all that same work, and I see they've been doing all their work still Inside Out.
So how many charities are you involved with now?
So I work with Cursor Arts, who is the leading prison arts charity. They're massive in the UK, been going for 60 years. So they run an arts and crafts competition within prisons. And what they do is they run a scheme where you can enter and then you get exhibited at South Bank if you're successful, because they have 8,000 entrants a year, roughly. There was 200 pieces in exhibition this year at South Bank. So to get exhibited is a massive prize, but a lot of people every person that enters gets a piece of feedback and a certificate, but they're not all, but some get cash prizes. So it's really just getting people to use creativity and help them to change their lives. And Cursor's been massive for years. So I met them while in prison, and then I worked there from prison. And then ever since then, they got me a mentor. Then they've just got me someone as a TEDx speaker to help me prepare for potentially doing a TED talk, or just to get them skilled. And they've just been massive for me. So that one I've always been involved with. That's how I met Greg, through them. And then more recently, I've just created a course with another person that's got a charity called AP Foundation. He's my friend. I met him in prison, and he's now come out and he's helping people turn their life around. And so he's been basically coaching kids and mentoring kids, and now he's creating many courses that are being implemented in prisons. people referral units, schools. Like, yeah, he's doing good stuff in the community to help rehabilitate kids. So yeah, been working with him as well.
This, honestly, Chris, this is fantastic. This is such important work. It's so fantastic. And obviously, it's come from your own passion because of your own experiences.
I feel like when you've been through it and you've understand it, that they can relate to you more than someone like a probation officer or someone that's never been in trouble, because they're like, oh, what do you know? That's the immediate response that most probation officers get, because they don't, or people that are trying to, psychiatrists or whoever's trying to implement courses or help, they often are like, what do you know? You haven't lived it. So yeah, I feel like we have a massive part to help.
Well, then tell me, let's go back then. Let's hear your story. So tell me, so when you were growing up, you grew up in Enfield?
Yeah.
And what was your childhood like?
Um, it was alright at first. Like, it was just me and my mum. We lived in Enfield in like a high-rise block. It was nice. Like, my dad wasn't about. It was just us two. Yeah, like, just I was just boisterous. You know, it's like just I was just a child. Just I didn't have no like worries or nothing. It was just we didn't have much money, but it was cool. We lived there, and yeah, like there was that just consisted of me, my mum, my nan, my granddad, and my mum's side of the family, very small. My cousin.
Do they all live in the same block?
Nah, like my nan lived in Cheshunt, which is like not far. My auntie lived in Cheshunt as well, so we was all quite close. Then, like my dad come back around. He's a different
What
character.
age was that?
Yeah. I was 8 when I first see him come back around. Yeah, he's a different character.
How was that? How was that? Well, how was it without a dad? Did you ever miss having a male figure in the family, or were you quite happy and settled with all the ladies and your granddad?
Yeah, like my granddad was there. My mum did have a partner, but it wasn't long. Like, and I didn't really like it was a long period. So yeah, I was settled. I feel like I was settled. I was young. Like I just like playing football and just playing and just messing about, you know. Um, and yeah, we had good Christmases. Like my nan spoiled me. Yeah, things were good. And then yeah, when my dad come, it was a bit different dynamic because he just come out of prison, and I didn't even know at that time. Yeah, I just remember him start calling, saying he's gonna be coming home. So we was talking. Then when he comes, it's like I don't really know him. It feels like I'm quite shy, reserved. I don't really like engage with him, but he kind of brought a different approach by like letting me do things that I wasn't allowed to do. So he would pick me up in like cars that were not even his, that were stolen, but it wasn't. I didn't know that then. But what I did notice is that these cars are brand new and it's cool and it looks nice. And I remember he had like a brick phone. Yeah, he had like a brick phone, and them times there, I'm like 38 now. I was like 10 and 8 then. So you're talking 30 years ago. These people, we didn't have phones them sort of times. And yeah, he just was different. Like he'd let me sit on his lap and drive the cars or whatever. And you gravitate towards his behavior because it's not what you're used to. Yeah. Then I see like he can be violent. I remember seeing him first person I see have a fight as an adult was him. We was at the lights and the car behind us bipped the horn to say that the lights had gone green, and he just got out and beat him up in front of the guy's kid.
Oh my God. Were you terrified? You must have been terrified, were you?
I feel like I was, but I was also like amazed, I think. Like I don't know, you just get that kind of drawn in by that. Wow.
My dad's strong.
Yeah, it kind of sets some tones, and sets these things emotionally. You start thinking that this is acceptable and this is how men are supposed to act, and you haven't had a male role model around.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how it was for a bit.
And how did your mum react when she saw him teach you these kind of things or show you these kind of things? Did your mum able to step in and say, "Oh, I don't really want you to show my son that kind of thing"? Or
That wasn't in front of my mum. She wasn't there. That's
no?
when he came to me out, like, because he'd just come and get me and take me. But
So he wasn't living with you.
no,
Okay.
well, he'd be around a lot, but he wasn't like living there.
And so that's how you saw, that's how you felt men should be, like a typical man. That's how they should be. That's the strength. It's a physical strength. It's not the mental strength that you're learning.
Yeah, you're just learning it, and you're just thinking it's cool, it's different. It's like it's what the male figure in my life was showing me. So yeah, kind of.
And how did you change you? Did it change you having your dad back? Did you change your sort of character and who you became?
Nah, I don't think. Maybe like I wanted to be more like that. In
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, your role model has changed. So who was your role model before your dad came?
I wouldn't even have said
Did you
that.
have one?
Yeah, I don't think I would have.
No.
Not
You're only
now,
8,
not
weren't you?
now one.
Yeah.
Not
And
now
was
one.
your mum quite a strong figure at that time? Or would it have been your nan or granddad who would have been stronger as a figure for you to look up to?
Nah, my mum, yeah, it's strong.
So then your dad was around from 8 till what age?
And then he went to prison again.
Right.
He just stopped turning up, coming, and like when he was about, there was some ladies on the landing. I used to go in her house and see her canaries and all this, and she was really nice, and we used to get on with the neighbours on the landing, and then he stopped coming around. And I remember one time I'm like sitting down watching Fresh Prince, and my mum's like, "Oh, you need to put the news on." I'm like, "Get out of here, like, the news." I was like 10, and I'm like, "I don't want to watch the news." Like, and I remember saying no. Like, she's like, "No, you got to." So she puts the news on. Obviously, I don't. I'm moody because I don't like the news, and then I see him going to prison for like 3 life sentences. But then obviously I didn't really understand at the time. Really, I just was like, okay, put the Fresh Prince back on, and then what I did notice is the dynamics changed from then, like in the sense of how we was treated by people around us. So the nice lady at the end of the landing now suddenly starts chasing me and calling me the N word and putting rubbish on my door, and it was just like, yeah, they was judging us because of him. He's been about, and then they've seen him, and then it's just, yeah, we was treated, even the caretaker, everyone was like different towards us. So yeah, things just suddenly changed from then. I suppose that was like,
That's like your safety net, isn't it? Like you feel safe in your community and then suddenly that safety net's taken away.
yeah, and like you feel rejected. I suppose like it's
Yeah.
deep rejection, isn't it? Like you're like, what have I done? Now, like I was cool, good enough for you before. Now
Yeah.
suddenly I'm not because of other people's actions. So yeah, I suppose it's a deep rejection.
And do you think, I mean, just switching sideways, do you think it's necessary for the crimes to be put into the media and be covered in the media that way? Because they don't look at how that impacts families of the offenders. So do you feel that it should be televised or it should be in the news? Or do you think it shouldn't be?
The news is going to try to sell papers, isn't it? The news is going
Yeah,
to
of
try to
course.
get headlines, I suppose. I never really thought of it like that, but they if someone's committed serious crimes, and they don't owe them no thing, do they? Like I've been in the
The
paper myself.
anonymity, yeah.
Yeah, like I suppose the answer is don't do the crime, I suppose. But yeah, it is not fair. The knock-on effect isn't fair, but then
Yeah, it's not
it's
fair
not fair
to
on the
families.
victims either, is it?
So then he went away, and how did your life change after that?
Because obviously he used to be like, he hates the police, they're bullies, and so he's gone, neighbours rejecting us. I was kind of anti-authority. Yeah, I just rebellious. I kind of, not like in a horrible way, but like I kind of pushed my mum away. Like, I don't know why. It's not like she done anything wrong, but
Yeah.
It was just like I
You
wouldn't
heard it,
yeah,
I guess.
and I was just it's just instantly, not instantly, but my behaviour changed. Yeah, definitely for sure, not for the better.
And were you going to school at this time?
Yeah, I was just going to school. So I was 10. Then by the time I started secondary school, they were trying to get me to like have some sort of therapy, but they didn't really want it. I think it was like more of a tick box exercise to say that he's been through a lot, so we're going to put him. But I think I had one thing, we didn't talk about nothing and nothing ever come of it. So
It didn't work.
yeah, no, they didn't. I think it literally was just to try to be seen to do something. And at that stage, like this is 25 years ago, so things weren't the same as they are now. Like it wasn't normal to have men in therapy or kids. I don't know about kids, but it wasn't like we talk about it. That's not how it was then. So maybe it was a bit of both, but nothing ever come of it. And I was just misbehaving in school.
What would have helped you, do you think? What do you think you could have done with? What would have been helpful at that time?
A positive male role figure that could have just said to me, because obviously having one come in and him go, teaching me these things, if just one that was doing stuff that's good and wanted a bit and was going to lead by example, maybe that would have been the best thing at that time, because I feel like kids that don't have the male, especially men, and more so, if they haven't got their male role model, then you often look for that in the streets. Like you often try to find it somewhere, and it often comes from the roads or the outside, especially if it's a single parent mother household, then you're gonna find that in the streets. That's how it worked out for me.
And the teachers, there weren't any positive role models in the school at all. There were no teachers or anyone that could see you and help you.
I don't know. I suppose there was. Yeah, of course there was teachers there, but again, like, these are teachers. Like, you're at school. When I'm in school, I feel like a lot of my actions were just to try and fit in or find some belonging, or because of the shame. I don't know. Like, I felt like a lot of it, I would be trying to show off, prove myself, in case I get rejected again. I don't know. Like, so
Yeah.
I wasn't going to listen to a teacher in that setting there. I mean, maybe at home, if I'd have had that positive role model. But then saying that, would I accepted them? I don't know. So, but yeah, you don't know. But I feel like it would have hurt.
So then so where did you find that sense of community and tribe? Like, where did you fit in?
When I was outside and I was playing, and then the elders would commend me and love me for being angry and aggressive. And that's where I found my full sense of belonging.
And what did you do? Like, what was a typical day? What would you go out and do?
When we were young, it was more like playing football, fighting, just like, yeah, it was maybe stealing, nothing major, but like, that's how it starts. And that's what happened for me. Like, I was just out there, just trying to prove myself, trying to belong, trying to fit in any means necessary.
And so you were with them for how long? Did you finish school or you were on the street the whole time?
I got chucked out of the one in Enfield at like year 7, so 13. And then we moved because we got evicted from there. We ended up going to Cheshunt, where my nan was. And then I started a school in Hoddesdon. I'd done a year there, got chucked out of there as well. And then I went to another school. But yeah, as I got older, I suppose, like, I moved from Enfield to Cheshunt. So like the crimes probably escalated, and I started getting involved in drugs and things like that.
So you finished school at what age? 15. And then what did you do after that?
My granddad tried to get me into to work with him, doing some painting. I didn't really like that. So I lived with them for a bit. Like, me and my mum lived there. Like, I went down there and lived at Cheshunt. And then my mum got a house in Cheshunt. And like, he was trying to get me to do painting and building, and I wasn't really into that, but I did it for a bit. But at the same time, I was still like dealing drugs or doing bad stuff, really getting involved in fights. And like my granddad grew up in the East End, and he's quite old school Cockney. I remember one time we're together, and worst nightmare I've ever think is like someone comes up to you while you're with your mum or your nan or your granddad, and like he was like, this guys have come up that I don't get on with, and he was like there with me, and I'm like, they're kind of threatening me in front of him, and
Oh no.
he's like, not like a typical granddad would be, because he's quite young. I was like 18 them times, so he would have been, I don't know, he wouldn't have been that old. Like, he would be probably around my age now, maybe
Yeah.
older, I suppose. And no, much older actually. No, I can't remember, about 50s, in his 50s or whatever. And he was like to them, no, wait a second, can we go to the park? And I was like, what? And he's like, and Chris is gonna fight you, and then he's gonna fight you. And he made, and this is how he is. This is how he was brought up, like his. And then he made me fight one of them. And as I was fighting he didn't make me, but he said, like, come on. And then
Yeah.
I was fighting him, and then as I was fighting him, the other one tried to get involved. And he's grabbed him and said, no, you wait your turn. And I was just like, oh god, this is just how it was to him. Like, if you've got a problem, you gotta have a fist fight and shake hands after.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not like that no more. But
Oh,
yeah, it was crazy. Like, and that's
were you not scared? I'd be terrified if my granddad told me to do that.
yeah. Well, I suppose it was me that brought. Like, I didn't get on with these two anyway. So
Yeah.
it wasn't. That's just how it was with him. Like, that's how. Yeah, that's how he been brought up. Like,
Not hardcore. Yeah.
yeah, and so that's what happened. And yeah, it's just that sort of thing. Like, but that's normal to him. That was just like,
Yeah.
and it was kind of normal in the sense of, like, you just be honourable. If you're gonna have a fight, you do it like that. But that's not how it is. Like, and that he thinks that that's how it was in his days. But no,
Yeah.
it's not really so much like
It's a
that.
different time. Yeah. And so, so then after that, I know that you escalated a little bit with the crimes, didn't you? What happened next?
So like, I would still just maybe rob drug dealers and things like this, and just sell drugs and fight a lot. But the main escalation probably happened like after my accident, more than thing. Like, I was just involved in that. Like, we just see it as, like, I suppose I was coming from a place of no goals, no ambition. I didn't really know what I wanted to be. I had no purpose, no meaning. So my life was just selling drugs, partying, fighting. If that, it's just that negative cycle. So when you're involved in that, you have to protect it, and then when you're involved, it's just a cycle of shit, to be honest with you, and it comes with nothing but turmoil and violence and destruction. So we just go around and just doing that life. There's no meaning to it. I had no goals. I didn't have no ambitions to be nothing.
But no one ever talked to you about that, did they? I mean, you had no one to teach you how to do any of that.
Well, like I say, my granddad wanted me to get into building and get a trade and all that, but like, to be honest, I didn't want to get into that. I did it, but no disrespect to people that are trades, but I didn't see myself doing that forever. Like, blowing out my joints and doing hard work. I when and I found it, like, in my head, I'm like, why am I doing this? I can make this week's wages in one day. Like, that's how I started thinking.
That's the thing, isn't it?
And it's like, obviously, I get it. It's alright if I weren't for me, like, in the end. Yeah. So I would do it, would do it on and off, really.
Yeah, and I guess that the stuff you were doing with your friends was a bit more exciting than doing that, to be honest, wasn't it? And you're getting paid more.
I loved risk-taking behaviours. I like thrived off being involved in engaging in things that I shouldn't be. I don't know. I felt like, I don't know why, but I feel like from what I've been through, what I'd seen, it gave me that excitement. Maybe it made me feel some sort of type of that way that, I don't know, like it was making me have some meaning, but I used to love being involved in things that I shouldn't be, in the wrong sense. I don't know. It was just crazy.
I guess also you learnt a little bit from your dad. He showed you how exciting that was, and you know, with his cars and things like that, it might make you think, well, it's good enough for him, you know.
Maybe.
So, tell me about the crash. What happened there?
So 2008, I was in a pub. I hadn't long been out of prison. I'd done like 6 weeks in prison for my first ever time in 2006, I think. And yeah, I was in a pub in Broxbourne, and me, my friend, and another friend was just drinking. He gets a call, and it's the police, and like his girlfriend's crashed into a tree, and she died on the scene, and his little girl was in the back seat, and he's shot off to go and like go to the roadside to pick up his daughter, and me and my other friend were drinking. Then he was like, I'm gonna go. He's like, no, don't drive. You're too... And I weren't listening to him. I was just like, nah, I'll be all right. Because when outside, I feel like I would be all right. Fresh air, I'm good. So he's like, no, don't. But I just said, all right. So I jump on the bike and I'm driving, and I get to where I was going. So, but then another friend calls me and says, oh, like, come to Cheshunt he was in, which is, yeah. So I drive to where he is, and I get there and we're talking, and there's like loads of them. There's about 7 people there. So I'm just chilling with them for a bit, talking. And then I say, I'm gonna go. And I jump on the bike, and as I pull off, blue lights come behind me. And I was like, oh shit. Now, obviously I shouldn't even be on this bike. So I had a choice, like, do I stop? Or do I try to get away and evade capture? So I just drop the gear and I just shoot off. Now I'm on the high road. So I'm going about, I don't know. The police said he was doing 100 to try to keep up, and he couldn't. And I get to the bend too fast, and where I'm not fully, well, with it because I'm been drinking, my awareness is lacking. So I come into the bend too fast, and as I've gone in, it started snaking. Then the bike's thrown me off, and I went one way, the bike went another, and the helmet just come off. And I told her where it was home. So I go through this wooden fence, which is like 4 inch by 4 inch thick, and I go down into a ditch, and it's like 16 feet below ground, and I'm laying in this ditch, and the water at the bottom of this ditch, and it's running over me, and I'm thinking it's like my blood. And I remember looking up at this police officer, and I went to school with him years ago, like he was a classmate, and I just remember thinking, like, in that bottom of that ditch, it's like, I wish my mum was here, you know, like, and I can imagine she would probably be in the same position, thinking, I wish, if she knew, like, I wish I was there helping him, like, because I was just like a little boy that was sick, I felt like, you know, like, just, and anyway, my arm was an open fracture, and I couldn't breathe because I punctured both lungs. So I was like, feeling like no air's coming in, thinking I was dying. And then what happened is, fireman come, lifted me up in a stretcher. I get to hospital, like, and I get to the top, and the police officer's going, I need his blood. That's all he cared about, because he thought I'd been drinking. And I get to hospital. I punctured both lungs, shattered my scapula, broke pelvis, broke 10 ribs, broke vertebrae in my back, and my pelvis. I had a massive head injury, and I pulled the nerves out on the top of my spine here that control this arm. So it's called like a brachial plexus fracture. And yeah, so that I was in a coma for 2 weeks. When I come around, I remember all my family and friends are there because they wanted to see, when they brought me out of this induced coma, if I'd have like brain damage permanently. So because of the head injury. So the first thing I said is, Bill, get me a drink. And everyone starts crying. And I'm like, I don't even want to drink. Like,
thank God.
But yeah, they was all relieved. And then, yeah, so I was just in hospital for like 6 months, just under. And then, I was there for a while. And then, the police officer comes about 2 months in and says, we're going to charge you. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. That's
Yeah,
honestly what I said.
exactly.
Like,
At this
uh,
point.
at this point, I'm in a wheelchair, guy. Like,
And you lost your arm.
oh yeah. So when I come out of the coma, it was there. It was in pins, and it had like just like different color. It was horrible. The smell was like rotten flesh. And they said to me, "Oh, we're gonna have to amputate it because he's got sepsis." And I was like, "No, refusing." And then they were like, "If you don't, your mum will have to sign for it to be like amputated." And then obviously I did, and then that was that. Yeah, come out of that.
You know, what must have been going through your head and your family's heads? I mean, everyone must have been.
A lot of guilt towards my like I can't blame no one. So like, there's no one you can blame, which only got pointed directly at me because I'm to blame. So I hate a lot of hate towards myself, a lot of guilt towards myself, a lot of anger towards everyone else. It's just not a good time.
And did that stop you? So you thought, okay, that's it now. I'm changing. I'm not, no more crime. No, you know, I'm going to start fresh.
No, I never did that once go through my head. No, it actually never. Not once. Not once at that point. And everyone says that was that your aha moment, and I'm like, no, not at all. I was in hospital planning to go to festivals with my friends, like, and like we used to go festivals and sell fake drugs to people. And I was saying, when I can walk, like they're all going to festival, I'm in hospital, and they're like, I think you need to worry about getting better first, mate. And I was like, no, I'm gonna come. But so never did I ever think at that point, oh man, this is it. No, I have to change. Because I didn't even see that a problem to change. That's the problem. I wasn't, obviously I was aware that I was doing bad stuff, but I didn't perceive it as a problem. I perceived it as that's what I am, that's who I am. That's my identity, and that was the main problem. I didn't acknowledge there was a problem. So it never crossed my mind.
Nothing needed to change, yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
So then you went back to love crime.
It was like harder because I feel vulnerable because I've got one arm and I was right-handed, and at first I didn't actually. That's a lie. At first I sat in my house for 2 years, depressed, didn't come out. My friends would knock and I'd ignore them, and so I didn't go back to nothing. I just sat in my house and existed. I even contemplated suicide. I would say clinically depressed. I was down. I was self-conscious. I hated myself. I hated this. I've never had a disability in my life. I've never really empathized with anyone that has disabilities because I don't know anyone that's had them. So I couldn't accept this person I was. I hated it. I had to wear a prosthetic arm. I was extremely emotionally unstable, and that existed for like 2 years, and then I went back to because I was trying to go on,
Could you let anyone in at that time? Were you able to let anyone in?
in the sense of
In the sense of emotionally, like to talk to someone, your mum or anyone. Could you let anyone? No.
I was guarded. I was taking drugs, I was drinking to just numb. I was even gambling, like everything that gives you a dopamine hit. I was chasing all the wrong ones. I was chasing it just to feel better in some sense. Like, it was horrendous, but like I couldn't process it. I couldn't. I would go to the doctor and she'd say, "Give me antidepressants," and she's like, tried to refer me one time to somewhere in Watford. They were like, "You're not ready to talk about it," and it just never had no therapy, nothing. And I was just in a bad way. And then in the end, I went back to crime because I wanted to feel normal again, and that was my even though it was delusional, or like I was chasing to be someone that wasn't even worth being anyway. It was me feeling normal again, I suppose.
And so then what happened then? So what was the crime? What were you doing after that?
So back to drug dealing, but and like fight, or not so much fighting, just anything that made me, that involved risk taking, and made me feel that back to my old self.
Yeah, human again. Yeah.
So I ended up, I was doing crimes, but I felt vulnerable because what I noticed is people that, how can I say this, that would never have been confident enough to challenge me because of this way I was, now felt empowered by my situation. And that was something I could not take. I feel like that brought out all the rage that I felt inside was on that. Like, now you feel that you can take advantage. So I end up having weapons on me and all sorts because I felt like you're not going to take advantage of me. And in the end, I end up getting a long prison sentence in the end because I end up getting into a conflict with a guy that I've known for years who was working for me. And he took something of mine, and then he ended up getting held hostage and like assaulted, and then I ended up going to prison for it.
How long did you have to do?
Judge gave me 10 years, 6 months at first, and then they reduced it to 8 years. So I done 5 years, 1 month out of it. Yeah.
How old were you at that time?
29.
So it was it's an adult prison you went to. It's not like a juvenile offender. Is a full-on adult.
Yeah, I've been a few times since losing my arm in between that, actually. Like remands. I got done for a couple of things, like nothing major, but just I'd get remanded. I got 15 months for jumping off of a train, which sounds ludicrous, but they give me 15 months in prison for that. And like I've been in a few times, but this time was a big time. They gave me that sentence and I had to do a long time. And I feel like the judge probably in hindsight was trying to say, look, your crimes have escalated. He said that. He said in his summing up, like, I'm giving you an EDS sentence, which is an extended determinate sentence. He said because of your escalation from an afraid, which isn't really in the rule book. It should be a continuous pattern of serious crimes to give an EDS. But because of the escalation, I think what he's trying to do is that we can see that you're acting out a lot of trauma here. I'm going to give you something where you have to think about it. And I think that probably saved my life in him doing that, in the sense I didn't like it or respect it then. But if I didn't get that sentence, I would have never probably changed. If I didn't do the 5 years in prison, I would never have probably changed. I probably would have only escalated, carry on taking drugs. Who knows? And maybe they went out of an overdose, like, because I'd be getting sniffing cocaine and just doing stupid shit and drinking heavily just to numb and suppress all these emotions. So that sentence saved my life, even though I didn't think of it like that the whole time I was there. But now in reflection, when I look back, and I honestly think I needed that to break away from the people I was around and time to reflect, because I became more self-aware at that time.
Which point did you think about it? So was there anything in particular that made you think about it, that made you turn inwards and look at yourself?
First 18 months out of the 5 years, I didn't do nothing. I didn't care. That same attitude was inside, because I said he was give me 10 and a half at first. It means I would have to do 7 years in prison before I get up. And when I got it reduced, and then I knew that I only had another 3.5 years to go. That was in 18 months in. So then it was like, well, you can be in open conditions in the next 18 months. So someone I was talking to was like, you need to get your risk down. You need to do the courses. He was a lifer. He's like, let me see your OASIS, which is basically your risk assessment. He's like, your score is so high. I've never seen this. Like, your probation have stitched you up here. They've given you a very high. He said, you need to do every course. He kind of like put his arm around me and said, like, look, if you want to be home in 18 months, think, well, you've been in 18 months already. Another 18 months, you could be in DCAT, which is open prison. You could be going home every month. And so I've done all the courses, like he said. But then I also, at that same time, so him saying that, me doing the courses, I knew that I had to behave to get out to do that. So I started to toe the line with the ulterior motive of progressing to DCAT, not because I was changing. What really initiated the change probably was I wrote a book of my life in real and paper, that 70,000 words, and getting that out on paper, even though like I was right-handed and writing with my left was like traumatic. Every time I was doing this, it was like reliving the trauma. But what it did for me, it was like therapy, because now I see everything that I've been through on paper. Like I've actually written it down. Before it was stored memories, stored experiences. When you put it into paper, there's something about it. I think Brene Brown talks about this, and it's like putting it on paper, you just see it in a different perspective. You can actually process things. And that changed me on a level that no CBT changed me. I've done CBT in prison as well, cognitive.
Yeah.
That writing, that whole life story was probably the most influential part of the that self-reflection, introspection. It was just seeing it.
Powerful, isn't it?
Like unbelievable. So then that happened. Then I got through, progressed to DCAP. I met some guy who's still my mentor now, Sam, amazing guy. He was like, started telling me, well, that book can be published. I shared it with him. He's like, you can easily publish it. He'd been to Harvard, graduate, and he graduated at Harvard. So he's the most intelligent person I've ever met. And he was like, you could easily be doing that, but you could be a speaker. You could open up a CIC and help people. You can in your own course, like your story is so unique. You could influence so many people. And he started writing a business plan for me and saying, like, look, all these things are achievable quite easily. And like, that's the first person that's and I know money isn't everything, but an educated millionaire is telling me you could easily do this. And he was like, now I believe in myself. That he sparked that belief and hope.
The first male role model, isn't it? Really positive role model.
It wants the best for me. And what is important is done stuff, achieve stuff like this. Because I feel like a lot of people can tell you things, but you take it with a pinch of salt if they're not done it. Because it's like having a personal trainer that isn't in shape. You're like, well, really, like that?
You're not an example.
Yeah, you when you see this person and he's done it, you're like, okay, right. And if he believes it, it must be true. I think that helped for me. And then, so at that same time, I was getting into fitness. I lost 5 stone. That made me more focused, more disciplined, because I was like, stopped emotionally, started doing stuff that I didn't like to do, but doing it anyway. I felt more confident in myself. Then Sam, obviously, he was like to me, you need to be reading if you want to be an author. So I started reading loads of self-help books because I didn't read at that time. So I feel like it was like multifaceted. All these things started pulling me. And when I look back, I'm like, okay, I got into meditation, and it's like, you was working on your spiritual, physical, mental and emotional, but not even knowing that I was pulling at all them. And then I was just getting better. And I feel like that's what spiraled me like upwards, in an upward trajectory of becoming better and overcoming things, understanding how these traumas as a kid were playing out. Like, you're on a stolen bike in a police chase, yeah, but your dad used to pick you up in stolen cars. Like, do you not see the narrative here, Chris? Like, do you want your kid? I haven't got kids at the moment, but unless I break this cycle, it can be generational. It can continue again. Like, it's not about blaming people. It's about being aware of these patterns, so then you can break them. Because, and like I said to you earlier, I wasn't aware. So until you grab that awareness and you say, all right, now I can either be ignorant and ignore it, or I can break that cycle. But until you're aware, you're stuck as a zombie and just acting out behaviors that you just think are normal. Not just him, but like these life things that you have when you're a child. Most people, bad behavior traits are all stem from childhood, things they've witnessed, from they've been through. Emotional regulation, struggled with that because of things I've seen, and just so many things. But yeah, that's how it worked out for me.
Did you ever do your ACE score?
Yeah, I feel like that's another thing that we miss it about in prisons, because you can go to prison today, and I don't recommend it, but they won't even ask you about ACEs, not even ask you. And it's like, we know that childhood trauma impacts brain development. We know it makes you less capable to regulate your emotions. We know you are more likely to engage in risk-taking behavior or substance misuse, which most people that substance misuse are more likely to offend crime. Like, there's so many things we know that are in correlation with crime, but yet we don't even ask about them in prison. It's like, why? Why are we not? And then I start thinking, and I know this sounds to some people a bit, it's like, most people that have been through ACEs come from deprived areas, yeah? Is it a social thing that a society, they don't want to impact that? Because if you start fixing this problem, then does that cause a bigger problem in the economy because of the amount of people that employ people from prisons? Like, you got probation, lawyers, judges, prison staff, whoever else I forgot. Is it something that, like, well, actually, it's not worth that? Because otherwise, why would we not be tackling it? Why are we not saying, all right,
Of course.
we know 80% of people in prison have been through this, but yeah, no one gets asked. I just find that fascinates me.
That needs to change, doesn't it? That absolutely needs to change.
That's what my core vision is to work on, because I believe that that's the answer to reducing recidivism, if that's what they want to do. But I'm going in to do talks about it. But I don't, again, the prisons I'm approaching, like private prisons, they're going to have us in, but do they want me to come in and create a course that affects their business? It would be a bold move, wouldn't it? Like, would they want?
Yeah.
Like, it'd be a stupid move. But I don't know.
But it's what's needed.
Yeah, I think it is, but in the bigger picture, for the people that matter and the people that can control this, is it needed? That's how because otherwise I feel like a study was done in the mid-90s. Why are we now in 2024 and nothing's been done? It's like, I don't think they're really that bothered on it.
But I mean, it impacts everything, doesn't it? It doesn't just impact your mental health, it impacts your physical health. So the studies have also shown that those with ACEs, depending on the higher the number, they actually have heart disease. They're more likely to have heart disease and cancer and all sorts of, aren't they?
Yeah, that is the other effect of it that I've seen is serious on health implications. So many, but obviously I am being more specific with what I have been through. But yeah, that may be the reason why they might do it. But then that impacts a vast majority of the population anyway. They say ACEs are common. There's this TED talk that I recommend to everyone when I talk to them about it. It's from Nadine Burke-Harris. She does a TED talk about ACEs, and it's like that's what introduced me to ACEs. Her TED talk. I was in open prison, and I was getting a train to Cursor every day, listening to TED talks or reading Brene Brown or whoever it is, a lot of her work. And then I'd heard this Nadine Burke-Harris, and I was like, what? And that's when I really started looking into ACEs. Then I read The Body Keeps a Score and Childhood Disrupted and all these books that are like, Vessel, old Vessel. Yeah. Childhood Disrupted, that's one of my favourites. And these books are amazing because they're key, man. If I don't think you can get the majority of people in prison to read them. But I think if you can just bring this to them and it resonates enough and sparks that curiosity, then they might go and read them. Because if they're hearing this and they're like, oh my God, that's what I do, then you'll start reading it. But for me, it was like, I was fascinated. I felt like that Vessel was writing that book about me. I felt like, is it Donna something, the childhood disrupted?
Yeah, Donna Jackson Nakazawa. Yeah, I think she's amazing.
I felt like she was writing that book about me. Yeah. Like, I honestly connected to them books like, oh, they're talking about my life. But obviously there wasn't, but yeah, I think that these things should be taught in prison. It's not an excuse for bad behavior. That's what she says in there. Donna says that. But I feel like a lot of people don't understand the connection or the correlation like between that and how it can impact their emotions and brain development. And I think it might not be an excuse for bad behavior, but if people ain't aware of how it's impacting their behavior, then it kind of is it's important in that behavior because they need to understand the link and what it may be doing to them in their adult life. Because once you can do that, you can become aware to make a change. But I think majority of prisoners, if you was to say this to them, they'd look at you like, what's an ACE? Like, so I feel like as much as trauma people understand, I think they should explain the impacts of this childhood trauma, how it can play out, how it can do your brain, like all these things need to be told to people. Like the toxic stress part that you was just saying, that's scary. And there's a book about it called, it's from that Nadine Burke-Harris. She's got The Deepest Well and one about toxic stress. She's like the leading person on ACEs, like, well, one of the leading people in America doing mad, amazing work on ACEs. And yeah, I just feel like there's no one driving this in the UK. Like, obviously, I'm looking for prison, but why? It should be everywhere. Like, people, like you say, health implications that come with it. Think how much she says about it is, it's the biggest threat to the health or something. She says in the one, I can't remember the statistics, but she says, and we don't even like push this into people and help them to process it. I feel like it would be massive.
It's a missed opportunity. Yeah.
Of course.
If you think it also would affect the pharmaceutical companies as well, because if you think of how many drugs they're giving to people for antidepressants and all sorts of things.
Is that why, again, it's not been... because these lot have a lot of pull. Anything that they don't want don't come to fruition. And I honestly start thinking, like, is that what it is? Like that, and then with the prison thing, I think, is it because of that people that lose jobs? I don't know what it is, but I feel like, why is it not, like, is it because it's not as financially, it doesn't make as much money to fix a problem as it does to keep curing the same symptoms? But
they want ill people. Yeah.
I'm sure something will happen. I think more people that we raise awareness to, surely.
Absolutely, that's what I'd like to do. Same as you, raise awareness of all these things. I mean, it's so important. We need to get things changing, don't we? So tell me, when is your book coming out?
Actually, some lady's been editing it for me now, lovely Natalie. She's editing it now, and helping elevate it to the next level, because I'm not a great writer. Like, I've got a story, but I haven't put enough. It's a bit more to show. It needs to be more show, not tell, and I'm very tell. Like, telling you what's going on instead of showing through. So she's helping me. But yeah, sometime this year, hopefully, depending on how we go, because once it's done, I don't know if I'm going to go with an agent or I'm going to go to publishing, self-publishing. So then if it's an agent, you don't know when it'll get released. If it's self-publishing, it'll definitely be this year.
Yeah. Oh God, that's so exciting. I'd love to read that. And are you going to do, would you think about talking in schools as well? Because, you know, it's an inspirational story, isn't it?
I'm going in when they go back, like end of this month, I'll be going into schools and then prisons as well this month. So we're doing prisons and schools this month. I'm going with Cursler to the prisons, private prisons, and then schools is through AP Foundation and I don't want to say the wrong name, but I can check his name because it's through the AP Foundation and the DBA project. So he's gonna have me going to schools with him, and AP Foundation will be facilitating courses starting from the end of this month. And we've just created a course to help people, so like make people workplace more inclusive. So using just to give like help people to be more resilience awareness and to help communicate their needs better, just that sort of settings to help people, for employers and for people with disabilities, just to try and help make the workplace more inclusive.
Do you think a resilience program would be good for someone in junior school, 8 to 11? Do you think anyone, you know, that young, would they need something like that? Could you have done with it?
Maybe. I don't know if I would have understood the concept of it. Like, I don't know. Do you know? Maybe. Yeah,
they would put it for that age, but yeah, something about building self-confidence.
Yeah, definitely self-confidence. I feel like as well, like communication and talking is, I find a lot of people in prison and I think struggle to talk to people, or like, especially I find that people from prison struggle to talk in any setting where there's like people that are not from prison. So like prisoners can go on a wing with each other and all get on well, yeah? Where there's potential danger everywhere because there's so many volatile personalities. But yet you put any of them prisoners in a setting where people are in suits or people are educated, they just go like that. And it's like, why? Like, why are we so? Why are
Why
we
is that?
where there's no threat? And so I feel like I wanted to do a course where we can help people communication skills, like talking in front of people in groups. Like obviously it's a massive fear of most people. It was for me, but I think it's so beneficial because then your communication level on every aspect grows. If you can talk in front of audiences, you can talk to anyone.
Absolutely
And I think
powerful. Yeah.
that's something I want to do because it ties in my speaking with anything that I'm doing that I can help in and I have experience in. Because like I said to you, it's important that you're doing what you're trying to help with, in my opinion. Because I wouldn't listen to someone that is not doing what they're trying to get me to do. Like people, do you know what I mean? Like when someone comes and it's your probation officer, say that, would you know? Like when you do
Yeah.
like that, it's good to have done what you're trying to get them to do or trying to show them about.
Lived experience, you've got the lived experience. You walking the talk, aren't you? So
Yeah.
that is brilliant. So I bet your mum's proud of you now, isn't she?
Yeah, that's changed. She must be definitely is more proud now than she ever was. She has reasons to be now, I would say, compared to before. I put her through so much, man. It's like that's one of the, probably only thing that like the pain that I've caused her. That's what still gets at me. Like she's really every sentence, every time I've been arrested, every time I've hurt myself, like she's felt that same pain.
And how's your relationship with your mum now?
Yes, good. We're gonna take her to lunch at 2:00. We've been really good. Now we got time. We got time. But yeah, I think
Well, it's just like,
yeah. No, things are really good. Like that's the thing about which I say to people, like when I got this ACEs course that I've been creating, it's about awareness. So I use the analogy of ACE, yeah, awareness, change, and then empowerment. And then what I say in the section of empowerment is you build meaningful relationships for the first time. You actually can use your experience to help others and feel empowered. And I think that's the model of the course. And yeah, I think now for me, all my relationships with my family are so much better than they've ever been for the right reason, because I'm doing what makes them happy and what makes me a better person.
You are such an inspiration, Chris. What a brilliant human being. You are doing so brilliantly.
Thank you.
Such a brilliant story. Thank you so much. Well, that's it. Come to the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on. Can I come on your course?
Yeah, of course you can. No worries.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm really, really grateful to you for spending the time and sharing your story. Thank you. Wow, I love Chris's story. Chris's story is a powerful one of trauma, the power of choice, the importance of a supportive mentor, and that full circle moment where you learn to take your power back and take control of your own life. Chris now uses his experiences to inspire and help others. He is a powerful public speaker, workshop facilitator, model, as well as a disability and rehabilitation advocate. He speaks in schools and prisons, raising awareness of how you can heal from childhood trauma and get yourself back to being the best version of you. I've put his Instagram details below so you can have a look and follow his journey. Thank you for listening to Unseen, Legacies of Childhood. If you like this episode, please do like, share and follow. This allows me to bring you more fantastic guests with truly fantastic stories. Life isn't always easy, and if you feel you'd like a chat, please do check the show notes below for links to organisations who can help.